Today marks the 30th anniversary of the 1995 referendum. All this week, we've been taking a look back, but today we look at the present and the future. Now, Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon has been clear if his party wins next year's provincial election, he'll call a referendum. And a Somme La Presse poll last week showed that of all age groups, support for sovereignty is highest among the 18 to 24 age demographic. Now, it's still shy of a majority, with 42% of 18 to 24-year-olds saying they'd vote yes and 45% saying they'd vote no. Now, with that in mind, let's talk to someone in the thick of the sovereignist youth movement. Our pleasure to welcome Florence Collette onto the program, co-host of the podcast Génération OUI. Florence, bienvenue à l'émission.
Hi, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Florence, tell us about yourself. Tell our listeners about yourself. How'd you get into the separatist, sovereignist movement here?
Yeah, of course. So I'm 21 years old, and the first time I thought about this movement was when I went to a vacation in Vancouver, and I remember thinking, I don't feel like this is the same country as I am when I am in Montreal. And I remember seeing how the culture was different, but there was no division, but I didn't feel like I had home in my home country. So when I came back from this vacation when I was 16, I looked into it and I wanted to understand the history of the referendum that happened. But that's why I was so into it. And then I found Génération OUI, which was this podcast. They were looking for a co-host, and also they're non-partisan. So that's what I love about it, because sometimes as young people, it can feel hard to choose Québec solidaire or Parti québécois, but it's fun to have this non-partisan place where we can talk about politics. So that's how I got into it.
So, I'm interested in what you said there about how you went to Vancouver, right, is what you said, and you saw things were different, and that sort of led you down the path. And, listen, I've talked to Americans, right? You go to the United States and you compare Texas to Vermont. Oh boy, are they different. Countries have different regions that are different, right? So I see that all over the place. But do you think there's something even more unique about Quebec that means, it can't stay in Canada?
Yeah, of course. I mean, just speaking French, right? And the culture, and it's different. Of course, I feel like language is such an important tool when it comes to how we feel, how we talk to others. So of course, I think just the language barrier for once, and also anything relating to art, music. And so I feel like that's the main point. But also I feel like in the United States, people have this similar pride of being American that I don't feel as a Quebecer of being a Canadian, but that's different for everyone, right?
Now, what do you think would be different or get better if Quebec were to vote yes? If Quebec were to separate, how do you think things would change? Because many people would argue that you can keep your culture and you can keep your language and still remain in Canada.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just the preserving of certain rights. If we think about women's rights, if we think about, for example, as a woman, I'm very stressed, about my reproductive rights. So I feel like if we become a country, we're going to have more power over our rights. So that's for once. And also, I think that when it comes to the language, I feel like we're not going to be so much insecure about speaking, a perfect French, or are we going to lose our French? Because if we're a country and it's the first language, I feel like we're going to have a better relationship with people in Montreal that speak English. So yeah, that's how I see it. I think it's a very positive outcome, and it's a thing to hope for, hopefully.
It's funny because that's not the first time I've heard that, right? The argument made that if Quebec was separate, they could they would not have to be as harsh on language because they know they have their own country at the end of the day. Okay, so we see the polling. It's still, there are more people that would still, even amongst the 18 to 24, that would vote no. And of course, if you look at polling overall of late, you see support at 30%, 28%, 35%, depends on the poll. What do you think needs to happen for the yes side to end up with a winning vote?
I think everyone needs to look at it on their own, because I feel like everyone can find something for themselves. And, you can start from your values and what do you want. But for me, as a young person, it's very fun to dream about a country, and this political states where everything feels uncertain. It's fun to have this plan, this group project, this community sense. So that's where I would go. I think it's a very hopeful thing as young people, where sometimes I feel like I don't see myself in, for example, what's going on in the States, all of this polarization. Mm-hmm. So I think, for me, it's just this movement of hope, and that's how I see it.
We're with Florence Collette, co-host of the podcast Génération OUI, and we're taking a look at the future of the sovereignist movement. So, Florence, is it fair to say you're excited about a future where there could be a separatist government leading Quebec and calling a referendum?
Yeah, I would be very excited for that, for sure.
Tell me why.
Because yet again, it would be such a fun movement. I want to be part of the OUI. I want to see my friend, going and talking about it. So for me, it's just a very positive outcome. And for once, I have control over what could this country be. So I think if it's the Parti québécois or Québec solidaire, for me, it's a collective movement, and everyone can be part of it. So I think it's going to be. Yeah. Do
you have debates with your friends over this? Do you find your friends, your family, or all go one way, or do you have robust debates on the subject amongst your friends?
I would say it's not a debate for me. It's more about discussion. I like to ask people how they feel about it, and I like to ask my friend who maybe are not interested in politics. But for me, the main thing that I say to people, it's always to interest yourself in politics and why it should matter to them. But as young people also, but that's what I said about it. But of course, sometimes people are like, "Oh, what do you think this way?" But I don't want to come as aggressive. I just want to have a conversation, and empathy is very important for me. So yeah.
Some people would say that now's not the right time, especially with what's happening with the U.S. and the economic pressure that's coming from south of the border. That this would be the absolute worst time for Quebec to go it alone. What would you say to that?
Oh, I think it's just an excuse. I feel like there's just always something. It's always never going to be the right moment. And I feel like it's better than ever, right? Because it's so uncertain right now with what's happening in the United States. So we have to make stuff for us. We have to build our own policy. So, of course, it can feel a little bit scary. But I feel like it's the best time. It's always going to be the right time, and there's no wrong time for me.
Now, the separatist movement already has two strikes against it, right? 1980, 1995, two losing referendums. There are many that feel that going after a third referendum when you're not certain of victory is a very bad idea. As they say in baseball, 3 strikes are out. What do you say to that?
How we say in French, jamais 203, right?
Jamais 203, there you go. Yeah.
Jamais 203, of course. But I feel like it's also for the young people that never had a chance to vote for that, because the people that voted back then, it's not the same voters. So of course it happened 2 times before, but it's not the same voters, it's not the same issues. So I think that this argument can be very important, of course, but you have to take in consideration that it happened kind of long ago, right? Mm-hmm. I wasn't there. I couldn't vote, so it doesn't count.
Can I ask you to wrap up here? You brought up culture a couple of times as we've been talking. Are you fearful if Quebec were to stay in Canada that Quebec would eventually lose its culture?
I'm not sure about that, but I hope that. I don't know. It's hard to say, and I feel like if you hope that one day we're going to become a country, it's easier to put yourself through culture. But right now, as a young person who speaks French and want to consume French Canadian culture, I have to do a lot of effort towards it. So I don't know. It's hard to say, but right now we still speak French, right? So maybe it could be, but I think there'll be less and less people, and a few people are going to consume. So it's just a way to protect the culture.
Florence, you're going to have to leave it there. Thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. That's Florence Collette, the co-host of the podcast Génération OUI.
I'm Dylan Playfair.
And I'm Tyler Smith.
We're putting loneliness in the penalty box by talking to some of our favorite athletes about the importance of friendship.
This is Bromance.
Bromance is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, proudly Canadian-owned and operated. Charm has been part of your love stories and bromances for over 50 years. And you can find Bromance on the iHeartRadio network or wherever you get your podcasts.